Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dids in the Dugout. I'm joined here by Hitch, absent Chad. He's been a little bit of a loser, but can't really blame him too much. He's getting ready to travel down to the SIP to see us here for a couple days. So we're going to let him slide this one
Well,
time. But
I
but
think he's I
before
think he's coming back. I think he has to come back to face some charges or something. I don't know. He,
that
he he didn't do a
that
good job
sounds
of
right.
explaining it, but yeah, some
Yeah.
kind of charges he has to face. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and we'll provide an update next week on how all that went. And
Oh boy,
you
will
know,
we?
if he's not on next week, then you know how it went,
Then
right?
that's the update.
Yeah, that's the update, and we'll leave it at that. So, but yeah, before we get started, though, we can tell you all about Rhythm, the best handicapping app out there on the market today. They have really started picking up steam, especially with the college basketball tournament starting now. You're in the conference tournament. It's got NCAA tournament coming up. Obviously, they do NFL, NBA, and with both NFL and NBA, they do player props. So you can build your model, and it'll give you player props with the biggest edges to bet on those if that's your thing there. And then they're also working on getting golf implemented into their app as well. That way you can start betting on golf if that's your thing. But good news is you can go download the Rhythm app. That's RITHMM. Search it, download it, sign up, and you get 14 days free. That way you can try it out for yourself, see if it's something you like, start making some models, or you can have them AI generate models for you and see if those end up working for you. So anything you want to do there, just kind of play with it for a couple weeks, see what happens. And if you like it, go ahead and sign up. But you get 14 days free. Again, that's RITHMM in the App Store. So go download it and give it a shot. All right, Hitch. Kind of a pretty big news day for us as right before we hit record here. We kind of get gifted content, right? Chris Beard signs an
Yep.
extension with the Ole Miss Rebels after year one. One thing I thought was interesting about this, obviously, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you know how contracts work with coaches in this state with the 4-year rule by the IHL
No,
board and
no.
stuff like that.
Some of us don't know or will never understand how they work, but
Well, I
we
mean,
we we try.
not
Yeah.
that it makes sense, but we know what the coach's contracts look like. That's why you always see a coach signing an extension after the year
Hmm.
because they have this dumb 4-year rule in. But what I thought was interesting was it was reported. Now terms have not come out on the deal. They said in the press release that they would be coming out at a later date, but this was not a rollover deal like you normally see with coaches. We rework the money in this deal apparently. So I'm really interested to see what that looks like when it comes out. But obviously good to lock down one of the best college basketball coaches in the country and Chris Beard for I think it was reported the deal runs through 29-30 season.
Yeah, something like that. And I think the original deal was for something like 3 million. So I mean, it's going to be more than that.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not going to say surprised. Uh,
Mm-mm.
Pleased. Like I'm happy that he signed. I guess if you would ask me to put on my radar, like if I expected him to be back next year or I didn't, I would have been like 50-50.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, but I think what this does, what Keith Carter does do here is that he says, okay, even though we started out hot 13-0, we kind of limped across the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
We still have faith in Chris Beard. Like we have more faith in that 13-0 start than that 2-8 finish or whatever we finished on. Trust Beard to bring in some more guys and really make a run next year. And so I'd love to see that.
Yeah, obviously, really good news for Ole Miss here. I thought overall it was a really good year for Chris in this program. I never thought that 20 wins were much of a possibility coming into the year, as good of a coach as Chris is. Obviously, Morrell's an incredible player and had a really good year, his best year so far in an Ole Miss uniform. Kind of funny how that works when you get one of the best coaches
Yeah.
in the country. The most talented player has his best year of the career. So that was obviously nice to see. But look, I understand disappointment because we did get off to such a hot start. I was right there with y'all. I was really excited about how good we were playing, but I always kept in the back of my mind that it was almost a smoke and mirrors type thing. And and some regression to the mean was coming, and that absolutely happened. But I don't think that's an indictment on this program or Beard as a coach by any stretch of the imagination. I still think he did an incredible job. If I had to give him a grade for this year, I'm in the B plus A category, somewhere in that range. I think he had a really good first year and is very deserving of this contract. Just kind of what are your thoughts on year one with Chris Beard and kind of projecting the future a little bit?
Yeah, same. It really says a lot about a coach when you hear who is looking at him. Like when you heard the names of who may be stealing Chris Beard from Ole Miss, you think, well, they want him for a reason, right? And for him to sign this extension, it says a lot about the faith that he has in the program and the players that he's recruiting and the players that he's bringing in. He's been successful everywhere else. I consider this year a success, right, because of where we came from, and so looking towards the future, I'm fired up about it because we have one of the best coaches in the country. A good recruiter. He's defensive minded, but he's not so defensive minded that he forgets all about offense, right? He kind of takes that same hard-nosed mentality during the offensive end. It makes me excited to keep watching Rebel basketball. I think it's the same thing we've been saying all year, right? The excitement for the future is really, we've had fun watching them, but the excitement for the future is really what we're looking forward to. And him signing this extension kind of cements, right. That's kind of where I'm at too. And I'm really interested to see what next year's team looks like, because now he's got an entire year to recruit like he didn't have last year at Ole Miss. Right.
He jumped in, he ends up getting the job, and he was able to recruit a little bit, but everything was mainly transfer portal at that point. This year he was able to work the high school ranks, has a really good recruiting class, some really top end talent coming in. And he also gets to hit the transfer portal at the same time. So now he's going to be able to use both of those to put a team on the court. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. So just kind of putting a bow on this. Really excited we get Chris Beard back. Can't wait to see what next year's team looks like. And obviously expectations go up from here. Good first start, 20 wins so far in the first year. We haven't played in the tournament yet, so obviously chances to go over 20, but really excited for the future. So it was really nice to see us lock him down, and it kind of speaks to the commitment as well from Keith Carter in this athletic department. So that's always nice to see.
And we're talking about the future, but that doesn't mean that the current season is over, right? I mean, Rebels play tomorrow. Against A&M, 6 o'clock. Yeah,
6 o'clock. I think.
Just make a run in the tournament. Let's go.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they can or they can't. It's not going to change my mind one way or another, right?
Exactly.
I'll probably tune in since baseball isn't on, so I'll probably end up watching it and see if they can catch fire. So, but either way, Ole Miss basketball's in really good hands, at least for the near future. So we'll see what that looks like as the years come around. Shifting gears to baseball here. Ole Miss ended up going on the road against Louisiana Monroe. Ended up scoring 2 runs in the 9th inning to pull out a win, 5-3. And I had somebody asking me yesterday how good is UL Monroe, and honestly, I didn't have an answer for them. I haven't looked into them. I didn't really know much about them, but they seem to be a pretty good team. I think they were 11-5 coming into that game on Tuesday night. I felt like they really pitched it well, especially considering how many pitchers they ran through. It was basically a bullpen game for them. They went through 8 pitchers, and the 8th one is the one that took the loss when he gave up 2 runs. So I thought they really pitched it well. But more than that, I think Ole Miss played really well. ULM jumps out to the 2-0 lead there in the first. And then Ole Miss scores 3 in the 4th to take a 3-2 lead. And Monroe comes right back and ties it there in the bottom of the 4th. So it was really a battle all the way through. Where I want to start right here, Hitch, is Riley Maddox. It looked off to begin the game. he was up in the zone. That's a problem for a sinker baller, right? If you're a sinker baller, you got to stay down in the zone. I felt like he was up in the zone a little bit too much. And then when he did get down in the zone, because he wants to force so many ground balls, he was forcing ground balls, but they were finding too many holes. And that's what ended up being the trouble for Riley Maddox. But look, he gives up 2 in the first, 1 in the fourth. So he's at 4 runs through 4 innings. And then you go look at his line in the box score. He goes 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 6 ground balls there on 68 pitches. Just another really solid outing from Riley Maddox in the midweek. And I think that he has cemented his role to be that guy in the midweek for us, basically for the rest of the year, unless something were to happen in the bullpen where we need him there. But we've talked for, hours and hours on this show about how good this bullpen is. And I think that's one thing this bullpen is affording Mike Bianco the luxury of using Maddox in that midweek role.
Right. Yeah. And just like you said it, I mean, you look at his box score, 8 flyouts. That's you're never going to see that out of Riley Maddox again. Normally because he likes to keep the ball down. But I mean, 6 innings, 1 walk, 68 pitches, right? Like that's incredibly efficient.
It's really efficient.
It's really good. And so, yeah, I mean, just another great outing for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was interesting in the post game. I watched Mike Bianco's interview after the game and talking about Riley Maddox's efficiency that you just brought up. I thought it was interesting. Mike had it scheduled for JT Quinn to pitch today out of the bullpen as well behind Riley Maddox. But because of how good Riley was and how deep he went into the game, there were other guys he needed to get in there. So JT wasn't able to get in the game. And that's one thing that we didn't bring up on a recap show that I had in my mind but never came out of my mouth. JT Quinn was one thing we were looking at last weekend, see what they would do with him since he wasn't starting. He was warming up on Sunday, never made it into the game, but he was warming up on Sunday with Josh Mallets. And obviously he brought Mallets in and you just let him finish the deal at that point. But the plan was for him to pitch the midweek, still didn't get in there. They go Braden Jones, and I mean, this guy's dynamite, Hitch. I don't really know what else to say about Braden Jones. I guess we're kind of becoming a Tracy Hughes and Braden Jones show over here because it seems like that's what we talk about every single week. But those guys just keep performing, and Braden comes in, and he just does his job. 1 inning, 1 hit, no walks, 2 strikeouts. I mean, good grief, man. He's been so good every single time he gets in there. And then they brought Ryan Rodriguez in to face 1 batter. He comes in and does his job against the lefty, gets the fly out. Yeah, 1/3 of an inning, gets the fly out there. And then Mason Nichols, a guy that's really been good for us so far this year. If I'm not mistaken, still hasn't given up a run all year in all the appearances he's had. But 2/3 of an inning, perfect, no walks, no strikeouts, completely fine. And then our guy Connor Spencer came in and shoved again. 1 inning, 1 hit, no walks, 2 strikeouts. What else to say besides another stellar bullpen game by the Rebels?
No walks.
I know, man. I know.
One. Yeah, it really, really, really does matter.
It really does. It's crazy, right? Don't walk people and you have success. So just kind of running through the lineup real quick, guys that had big games for us. Andrew Fisher with that RBI triple, or 2 RBI triple. I believe it was.
Yeah, I did see that last night, and poor Andrew Fisher with a good throw. He's out by 75 feet.
Yes, absolutely. But it was not a good throw.
It was not a good throw and a great slide, and he's in there. Right. So great.
And those are the things that matter too, though, right? I mean, you've got to know base running and the arm of the outfielder with the relay and stuff like that. How much time you have, what side of the bag to slide on, stuff like that. So that's really good scouting there on his part. Really good instincts on his part. He goes 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. Groff 2 hits. He led off that 9th inning with the double, if I'm not mistaken, to really get things going to spark. Yeah, I mean, just right down the line. Jackson Ross goes 0 for 3, but you know what? He walked twice. I mean, he just keeps getting on base. Our guy Luke Hill 1 for 4 with the walk. Tracy Hughes, He just keeps doing his thing, 2 for 5. I know you have to have seen the video if you weren't watching it live. That incredible double play made number 2 on the SportsCenter top 10 today with the slide and catch and the double play there at third. Were you able to see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. And I thought it was really impressive that directly after that, the very next batter smokes a ball to the gap, and he's able to run it down to end the inning. Yeah, I mean, no matter the struggles he had earlier in the year offensively, which clearly is not the case right now. He's seeing the ball real well, putting real good swings on it, and they're finding holes. Defensively has never been a problem for him. I heard somebody in the post game say that they believe that was his 5th outfield assist so far this year, and that's already more than any Ole Miss player had all year last year on our team.
So he's thrown a couple of guys out at third. I know.
Yeah, and then right here, I kind of wanted to bring this up because I thought this was a great job by Mike Bianco as a head coach, knowing baseball and just knowing how guys are going to pitch you. When you looked at the lineup, he had Reagan Burford batting ahead of Will Furness. And you probably think, well, why is that the case, right? Well, he comes up in a big spot early in the game, had a runner on. Reagan Burford comes up to the plate, and he gets a fastball, and he absolutely drills it through the hole with Will Furness sitting on deck. Without Will Furness back there, I'm not sure he ends up getting that pitch. So he's getting better pitches for his players by lineup construction. So, all-time goat move there by Mike.
Hey, look me in my face and say that again.
He put Will Furness behind Reagan Burford so he could get a better pitch to hit to get him going because they know what Will's going to do right behind him.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, so great job by Mike. Seriously, though, Reagan, good game, 2 for 5, runs scored. He's a guy that's really started to come around.
He really is.
It's
every
really
time you look, he's got 2
competition.
hits, right? Like, I mean, every box score's
really
got 2 hits.
With him and Braden Randall right now because they're both guys that are playing pretty well right now. Braden obviously gives you a lot more defensively than Reagan Burford does. But look, the way Reagan's swinging the ball right now, it is kind of hard to keep him out of the lineup. And if he keeps hitting, you'll take a little bit of a dip defensively there at second base, I think, at least for a little while. Which he's not a liability there by any stretch, but Braden's just so good defensively there. So that's where the real battle's at, especially when Braden's swinging the bat the way he has in the last week or so. But really good to see Reagan get going. That's another guy that if he ends up really getting going, that just adds more depth to this lineup. Will Furness goes 0 for 1. Bo Gatlin pinch hits for him, and he ends up going 2 for 2. Bo's a guy that's just a hitter. So that's really nice to see. A guy I really wanted to point out here, Eli Birch. He went 1 for 3 with an RBI, but that's not what I wanted to point out.
You know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say.
He threw out the first runner of the year.
Runner out.
I mean, an absolute hose.
By an entire minute, it felt like it was an absolute. He must have listened to the show and heard me talking about how maybe our catchers can't throw anybody out, and boy, did he decide to prove me wrong.
Yeah, Eli had a really good game there. So it was nice to get that first one under our belts, much we struggled with home runners out. So that's the ULM game. Rebels end up winning 5-3 there with the last midweek game before SEC play starts. And now the real season starts here, Hitch. Your non-conference and all that. It's to me, you use it to get lineup construction right, to get the guys playing. If you've got questions at certain positions, figure out who's going to take. You want stuff to be in stone by the time you get to this point of the year, whether it be rotation, lineup, bullpen. You're finding roles for people and you're cementing them before this time of year comes around. I think you really saw the lineup really start taking shape the last couple weeks. Again, you've got basically a platoon of some kind with Birch and Smith wicket catcher, and then Burford and Braden Randall there at second base. And but outside of that, it seems pretty set.
I would say too, you may have a platoon on your hands at DH with Furness and Bo Gatlin. I mean, I wouldn't this sounds stupid, and I don't mean it this way, but like I wouldn't have a problem with that. Like, I mean, he's like,
oh no,
I mean,
Bo's
hitting. I mean, and from the
Yeah.
left, and I mean, left-handed pitching.
Lefty,
yeah. I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, and I think that's something you'll probably see if that does end up coming about with a lefty. Is Bo taking some reps there, or Judd Utermark to see if you can get him going with the lefty on the bump,
or Reagan Burford, right? He could be a guy that could DH against lefties if we needed him to. As much as he's heating up.
Yeah. That the only problem there is if you did that, Braden Randall is also a lefty who would take his spot there at second base. But Burford's a guy that's really coming around. So, but Bo Gatlin, I absolutely think that's a guy we talked about coming into the season because he absolutely crushed the ball every time they had a scrimmage in the fall and then spring leading up to the year. So, but we've got a really good South Carolina club coming into Oxford Guard SEC play this weekend. They're 14-3. They have a ton of talent. I was going through looking at some of their team rankings in the SEC so far this year, and offensively, they're third in the SEC in on-base percentage. They are first in walks. They've walked 10 more times than Ole Miss has, which is impressive, right? I mean, because Ole Miss walks a ton. They're very, very patient at the plate. Now, they only have a few of their guys really rolling right now. Ethan Petrie being one of them, the preseason All-SEC right fielder. He's hitting .316 with 1179 OPS, 6 home runs, 17 walks on the year. The one guy that I have circled is center fielder Dylan Brewer. Played in all 17 games so far this year. He's hitting .404 with an 1112 OPS, only 2 home runs, but he's got 6 steals. So the running game could be a pretty big deal there this weekend. Kind of like last weekend with Morehead State, we need to keep this guy off base because he can raise so much chaos on the base paths if you let him on there. But another thing is he doesn't get himself out. 15 walks to only 5 strikeouts on the year. He goes up there and makes the pitcher earn it. So he's not going to go up there and get himself out. He's trying to get on base any way he can, and he does a really good job of that. And they have power up and down the lineup as well. So it's going to be.
I think the guy next to him on the roster is the guy I'm looking at, Parker Noland. So I recognize that name. Boy, do I. And so I'm not looking forward to facing him. Yeah, and they have Tristan Casas' little brother playing first base with them as well. A big-time power bat that struggled a little bit so far this year, but the talent's obviously there. He was a big-time prospect coming out of high school. So their catcher, his name's slipping my mind right now, but I think he's already hit 6 or 7 home runs so far this year as well. Only hitting like 260 something, I think. But again, plenty of power. They got power up and down the lineup. Now, that's one thing Ole Miss has done a really good job of. I think they're either they either have the fewest or second fewest home runs allowed in the SEC this year. Ole Miss does. So we've done a really good job keeping the ball in the ballpark. And I think it's going to be a really good matchup with our pitchers and their hitters, the way it matches up, because at some point something's got to give, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't really have anything to add to what you said there. You nailed it. Something's got to give.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. One thing I found interesting about South Carolina, it seems like they've made a change in their starting rotation starting last weekend. Now, they've had Eli Jones on Friday, Dylan Eskew on Saturday, but they put Ty Good in on Sunday, a guy that has pitched just phenomenal for them so far this year. And I was wondering if maybe that was an injury situation or if they were making a change. It looks like they're making a change because their original Sunday starter started this past Tuesday night in midweek. So he'll be available out of the bullpen if they want to pitch him then. But I would assume that Ty Good's going to get a second straight Sunday start here. And he's a guy that has pitched incredibly well, 0.79 ERA in 6 appearances, including 1 start. He's struck out 13 batters and 11 in the third inning and only walked 4 and has a 135 opponent batting average in just over 11 innings. So he's been really good. Now they're all righties. That's one thing that we do have going in our favor. We face 3 righties. Just kind of running through it real quick. Eli Jones on Friday night, I think is what they're going to run out there. 2-0, 140 ERA, but I'm a little skeptical of Eli. It seems like he's gotten a little bit lucky so far this year. Like I said, 140 ERA, 17 strikeouts, only 2 walks, so he's coming right at you. Kind of like we talked about with Morehead State last Friday. It's as good as Ole Miss is drawing walks and being patient. We need to go up there and be aggressive because he's not putting guys on base. He's not walking anybody. That's 2 walks in just over 19 innings. But what stuck out to me was a 140 ERA, but a 273 opponent's batting average. People are making contact. They're getting hits. They're not getting that timely big hit to get those runs in. That's going to be a big key for Ole Miss, particularly on Friday night with the guy that is giving up contact and giving up hits the way he is apparently so far this year.
Right. Well, and two, that tells me that or those 2 things that you just said combined, he doesn't walk people. He has a low ERA, and he has a higher than average batting average against. Like all of those fit together, right? If he were putting guys on with that high batting average, that ERA would be sky high as well.
Way different. Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's luck or he just bears down when he gets guys on, whatever the case may be. He's not, those guys who are getting hits are not coming across the plate. And that is something that we've kind of harped on the past few weeks. I think we did a really good job of it last week and last night in the midweek too, right? I mean, in the 9th inning, right? I mean, we had guys on, we did what we needed to do, and we scored the 2 runs that ended up winning the game. The way I look at it is if he puts guys on, if we get hits, right? Single, somebody needs a double. We need somebody, to drive these guys in and make him and make those singles hurt. And so this weekend's going to be a good test.
Yeah. And then looking at Saturday, you got Dylan Eskew, another guy that's having an incredible year, 2-1 and 289 ERA. Again, a guy that doesn't walk anybody. That's the theme of this entire pitching staff for South Carolina. 289 ERA, which is elevated. Like it almost feels like him and Eli Jones, their ERA should be swapped because his is 289. But only a 147 opponent's batting average. And he's only walked 6 guys in 18 2/3. So it's not like he's putting on a bunch of guys and he's not giving up hits. So maybe it's a little more unlucky on his side that he has given up run. I mean, look, a 289 ERA is still very, very good. But 15 strikeouts, 6 walks, and 18 2/3. Dylan Eskew has played pretty well so far on Saturdays for him too. So it's going to be a real challenge with these 3 starting pitchers coming into Oxford. And like I said, they don't walk anybody. Rebels got to come out and be aggressive. Once again, just like they were last week against Morehead State.
Yeah, I mean, you look at both these guys' numbers, and they're almost identical. I looked and thought, oh, well, maybe it's one of them strikes more guys out than the other one, or one of them gives up more ground balls or fly balls. And no, that's what it looks like. What it sounds like to me is that Eli Jones has probably gotten the benefit of a few more double plays than Dylan Eskew has.
Yeah, that's probably accurate there. So going to be a real good test for the Rebels with that starting rotation coming in. But just kind of running down some of the pitching numbers for South Carolina. They're second in ERA in the SEC with a 2.15 ERA, and they are second in opponent's batting average. Their entire pitching staff has allowed a 187 batting average to opponents so far this year. So, I mean, it goes beyond starters. It's a really good bullpen. Yeah. I think I saw at one point it was the number 2 or 3 bullpen in the SEC as well. And then they're second in hits allowed. They've allowed the second fewest hits in the SEC as an entire pitching staff. So the Rebel lineup's really going to have their work cut out for them this weekend with this pitching staff in South Carolina. A really good team. Nationally ranked team. Now, they haven't played the toughest schedule. When you go back and look at who all they played.
That's what I was just looking at.
Yeah, they had a 3-game set with Clemson. The Friday night game got
canceled.
Got
rained out.
Yeah, and they played on Saturday and Sunday. Lost both of those games to Clemson. So really, the two toughest games, obviously, that they've played, they've lost both of them. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with going on the road against what I think is a really good Ole Miss team and a Ole Miss team that's really playing well at the right time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is their pitchers, may have that 187 bag average, and they're carving guys up, but at the same time, you've got a bunch of guys in our lineup that are also red hot and getting that way. And so it's going to be interesting to see which side prevails, offense or defense.
Yeah, it will. So really excited to get this series started, see if the Rebels can, at least take 2 out of 3 at home, get off on the right foot before we head to Knoxville next weekend. That'll be one hell of a test for the Rebels going up there playing Tennessee, who's also playing really good baseball. They're hitting everything out of the park that comes over the plate right now. So they're playing really well. One thing I want to do here, Hitch, we talk about the bullpen so much, even going back to the off season. We talked a heck of a lot about the bullpen, thinking this would be a real weapon for Ole Miss and Mike Bianco. And sure enough, that's turned out to be the case. If I'm not mistaken, back one of the first shows we've done, I sat down and wrote out any bullpen arms that I thought could be helpful to us this year, just to kind of show the depth. And I come up with like 11 or 12 names, something like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And sure enough, so far, it does seem like we've been that deep. One thing about being as deep as we are in the bullpen, you're going to have guys that don't throw for a while, guys that need to get into games to stay sharp. And we've seen that over the last week or so. A guy like Ryan Rodriguez come in, even for that one batter. But there are guys that that need to get in and pitch. I thought it would be a pretty good exercise for us to just list 3 bullpen arms that you want to see this weekend, either because they've been impressive, or they haven't pitched enough, or it's just something you want to see out there. So we'll let you start. Is there just name one of your 3 bullpen arms that you want to see pitched this weekend, no matter what?
Yeah, well, before you said JT Quinn earlier, I was going to say him because I just want to see
he has to pitch
what he looks like. Outside of that, really. When I started thinking about this, I don't know that we'll see anybody that we haven't seen, because it feels like it feels like Mike has pretty much got his weekend bullpen. But having said that, I would like to see somebody besides Austin, a left-handed
Simmons
guy, right? Yeah. Austin Simmons. Sorry, I didn't say his last name. I would like to see another left-handed guy out of the bullpen, right? I know we've got a couple more in there. Ryan Rodriguez would be one, but that's always a good thing to have, and a confidence thing for Mike to know that he's got more than one left-handed guy. Or last year, we had Jackson Kimbrell last year was the only left-handed guy, but just want to make sure that we have more than one guy from the left-handed side that can get it done in a big situation would be nice for me. So any of those left-handed guys down there would be nice to see.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off that. That was one of my guys, Wes Mendez. He hadn't pitched in over a week now. Yeah, he hadn't pitched in over a week now, and I really love what I've seen out of him as a true freshman so far. So I want to see him get in the game. Obviously, JT Quinn is one that we've already talked about, but so Mendez is one that I think needs to get in the game pitch. So I'll let you have him as your first one, Mendez, that you're looking for a lefty. One guy that I would really like to see is Kyler Carmack.
You just don't want me to take Kyler Carmack. I was just fixing to say you don't want me to take Kyler Carmack. That's why you did that.
I'm taking Kyler. I was really impressed with Kyler the last time he came in. His fastball was really good, and his changeup is one of the better pitches on the entire team. So he absolutely filled up the zone. I think 6 strikes in that one inning that he threw.
Yeah. Just
absolutely filled it up. So that's one guy that I really want to see is Kyler Carmack. So put me down for him.
Yeah. I want to see my man Sam Takuyan.
See, that was my next one.
Pitch. But as I was saying it, I was like, but yeah, I have seen him, but I think it's just because it's fresh in my mind because I watched him pitch. recently, because I feel like I haven't seen him outside of maybe the Iowa series, maybe a midweek, and then he pitched
And
last
then
weekend.
last weekend.
Yeah,
The reason I would say Sam Takuyan is because I want to see him on back-to-back weekends. I want to see him build a role
sure.
because his stuff has really, really played well every time he's gotten into the game. I don't know how many innings he's pitched, but it doesn't seem like it's been near enough so far. And I think he can be a really dominant arm from the right-hand side for Ole Miss. So that's one guy I want to see pitch back-to-back weekends to kind of see how he's bouncing back, because I think he threw 2 innings last weekend, if I'm not mistaken, there, and just came in and absolutely shoved for us. So I love Sam Takui in there, and I'd love to see him get in and see what he looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now I'm going to go off a little bit here. One guy I want to see, I think he's only pitched once all year. I didn't even look it up to see. Hudson Calhoun, the freshman, he came in a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, for 1 inning. And I was really impressed with the young righty showed for us. He's a true freshman out of Tupelo, I Bleav. But I just remember watching him and thinking, man, this guy's got something. His stuff really played well that 1 game that he pitched for us. And I'm just interested to see what it looks like more and more, which it's going to be hard for true freshmen to break into this bullpen because of how talented we are.
Yeah.
Wes Mendez is able to do it because he's a lefty, and that's such a need for us. Those are specialists there. So, but Hudson Calhoun, I think, is a guy that has a lot of potential, and I really liked what I saw from him a couple of weeks ago. So I'd love to see him come in even for an inning or something like that, even if the game's out of hand or something, just to kind of see what it looks like, see if it looks the same.
Yeah. Well, my third guy that I want to see this weekend is Connor Spencer, and that means that we are winning in the 9th inning, and he is pitching. That's what I want to see.
That's right. And I will go ahead and wrap up my bullpen wish list with, I want to see Josh Mallett's on Friday night, and I want to see him again on Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah.
I want to see Josh Mallett's pitch twice on a weekend to see if he can do it. If you can have something like that with the depth that we have, then you're talking about taking a really, 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 really good bullpen to even another level if you're able to use him twice in a weekend, even if it's not back-to-back again. If you could do a Friday and Sunday, something like that, if his arm's able to bounce back coming off of Tommy John surgery last year. It's something I've been waiting to see all year long, and obviously we haven't gotten it quite yet, but that's something I'm going to be looking for this weekend, next weekend, the following. I'm going to be looking for it until it happens to see if it can even be done and what it looks like when it does.
Yep, I'm right there with you. It's going to be needed going forward, right? Guys are going to have to pitch. Guys are going to have to pitch back-to-back days or, in the same weekend.
Yeah, especially in this league. It's a really tough league, and you're going to need every pitcher you got. Luckily, Ole Miss has an absolute ton of them. So I think that'll be really interesting to see if we're able to see something like that, though. But that's going to do it for us here today, though. That's kind of our look at South Carolina. Rebels start SEC play. We started at Swayze Field. If you're in Oxford, around Oxford, get out to the ballpark. Not going to be great weather on Friday, but we've manned worse before, so chances of rain on Saturday too, I Bleav, but hopefully it'll hold out. But we'll end up getting 3 games in no matter what this weekend. I have total confidence in that. Mike always gets 3 games in. So appreciate y'all tuning in, though, and we will be back with y'all Sunday evening for our South Carolina recap show. We will hop on here as soon as the game's over with, and we will record one no matter how we feel come Saturday, which – heads up is going to be a little rough. If I had to say,
we might be together.
Yeah. We're allowed to be. Might do a live show on that one. Me and Hitch together over at my house. So, but either way, we'll be back with y'all. We will not keep that from you. We know how much you love it and how much you want it, so you're going to get it. I promise you.
All right.
That's a Did's guarantee. So, all
right,
guys, I appreciate y'all stopping by.
I don't put my name on that guarantee. We'll just leave that to Did's guarantee. That's the Chad Flowers guarantee.
Chad Flowers, yeah. If he makes it out.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Good luck, Chad.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and look for us this Sunday on the recap show, and hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.